Oh, yes, City, where are you? Thank you for that. I love the way you introduced this new word, collaborant, because one thing we've been discussing throughout this last 2 days is how we as designers, developers, creators use language in everything that we do, and that's a good word for us to take away as well. Also, this idea of mind space is great that you brought that framework, because a lot of people, we've heard of it, it's good to get reminded what the government has come up with itself. And I was wondering about the artifacts that you mentioned. Many times when we are collaborating, we create artifacts like service blueprint, we create user journeys, we create a lot of stuff and materials in the hope that people will use that and understand where we're coming from. And sometimes we feel our job is done. If we have created the service blueprint, it's actually the work just starts from there. So thanks again for reminding the human dimension of making the artifact become part of the conversation, not the end result itself. So it's been such an incredible last 2 days, and we have so many comments online. We've had a lot of interesting conversations as well happening in the outside, as well as in the WhatsApp groups that we've been sharing. I just wanted to go with a couple of points we've had in the online track. And basically, we've heard today about repair. We've heard about 19% of garments in the UK are thrown away, and how Toast has repaired over 4,000 garments through their workshops and communities. So that was one of the workshops that took place earlier. We also heard about material choice and how timeless design are integral as well for making people not necessarily having to throw things away. And one of my bugbears has been the role of aesthetics. I know when Steph Pozak was here and we had the data visualization conversation as well, we actually as designers cringe sometimes because we keep being told that we're not about making things pretty. But making things pretty, there is a certain level of skills, and when you make things pretty, it's actually about making things beautiful. And there's a lot of truth in things which hold beauty. So I don't think we need to shirk from our responsibility as designers of making things pretty and beautiful so people value it and cherish it, and you don't want to throw away something. So we can start thinking about going back to our superpowers as designers and really kind of taking a new sense of aesthetics besides what we have been seeing just that's been coming out itself. I'm very conscious about time, and it's been a long day, so instead of me rambling on, I would really like to give the mic over to Minnie and then help us out from here.
Okay. Are you guys talking about postcards now or later?
I did message. Oh, okay.
Postcards, go on.
All right. I was hoping to kind of bell Kat to come up to the stage and do the postcards anyway, but I think I'm going to ask Kat to do this.
So we've just heard from Cedrine talking about behaviour change, and one of the best ways to change people's behaviours is to make a first commitment. So for those in the room and online, what we're going to ask you to do, just take 2 minutes and just think through all of the things that we've heard over the last 2 days. It's been such a lot, and we'd like you to think about a commitment that you're going to make to change the way that you design, or think about someone you're going to collaborate with. What commitments are you going to make from everything that you've heard over the last 2 days? For people in the room, we have got some lovely postcards from Norwich that we're going to hand out. And then in 6 months' time, we're going to post them back to you, so you can be reminded of what commitment you made. So write your commitment on the postcard and put your name and address on there, and we will post them back in the most carbon neutral way we can find. And for those online, we would like you to use the hashtag Design for Planet, and whatever social media platform you're on, whether that's X or LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, take a few moments and however many characters you're allowed to use on that social media platform, and write a commitment, and we will collect them all together. And we will do something in 6 months' time to remind you of them. So I'll just give you a minute to do that, and maybe we'll play some music before I hand over to Minnie.
Right. Let me bring us in to land on Design for Planet Festival 2023. We have had an amazing 2 days. We've had 80 speeches, speakers, should I say, 53 sessions. We've broadcast to over 6,000 of you from 93 countries around the world. How exciting is that? A couple of reminders. All of the films, all of the various things that, things you will have missed will be on the website. And I know that there's been incredible engagement and contribution and chat in the online channels, so thank you for that. I think it's true to say that it has reinforced the point that design has a critical role to play in addressing the climate crisis. I have some thank yous. Please don't applaud to everyone. We will take too long, but let me just go through them. So the first thank you is to our absolutely brilliant speakers and facilitators. Huge thanks to our amazing MCs, both here and online. Massive thanks to our hosts here at the University of East Anglia, at the Enterprise Centre, at the Sainsbury's Centre, and an absolutely thank you to this magnificent building, for those of us here, that has created such a lovely space for us to spend these 2 days. Huge thanks to our media partner, The Guardian. Big thanks to the other journalists that have come that will help amplify the messages and the content that we've heard. Thank you to our partners at Innovate UK and the Arts and Humanities Research Council. Thanks to our local sponsors, Adnams, Mills and Reeve, the East of England Co-op and Aztec Plants. Massive, particularly from me, heartfelt thanks to our Design Council team and also to our production partners, Open Audience. You have all been amazing. And last but not least, thank you everyone here in Norwich and all of you online for your participation and for your collaboration. At which point I think we can do a big applause for everyone. A reminder, particularly all of you students that are with us, a reminder, enter the Product for Planet competition, which is in a partnership with Seymour Powell and with Batchworks. That's going to be an amazing opportunity. You can find out online about it. Enter. They want lots and lots of people to enter. So, some of the things that popped for me. There's just so much, but here's a few things that popped for me. You'll have your own things. We started with a masterclass in what's the actual meaning of collaboration with Rosie. And that was about equal power dynamics. It was about practicing humility. It was the need to work together. And we have so then beautifully come round to another way of thinking about collaboration. I love Collaborinth. I'm absolutely loving that. Yeah, thank you for that, a different angle on it. Who knew that a toothbrush took 1,000 years to biodegrade and that 4.7 billion of them will go into landfill this year? Some other things I heard. The energy market needs to be designed for users in order to move people from NIMBY to YIMBY. I've done the energy. Inclusivity is still not good enough in the design of systems such as transport. And I love this. We need, as designers and innovators, to look at who's not there and how do we bring them in. One thing that really struck me is there's a lot of hiding. If you can't open it, you don't own it. If you screw up the screws, you're screwed. We know almost nothing about our stuff. We don't often question the consequences of stuff. Why are there no paint ingredients listed on a tin of paint? What's in my phone? What's the story behind the food I'm eating? So as designers, we really, I think, need to take responsibility for our part in transparency. And as citizens, we need to ask more questions and demand more transparency. We were reminded of the power of data, and beautifully then the power of data visualization to capture attention and imagination. And, no surprise to me, cats communicating climate change can be a very effective approach. Following on that note, who knew about dingy skippers and grizzly skippers? If you don't know what I'm talking about, people, make sure you look at the Future Mobility session. AI can be a co-pilot for creative practitioners. We know how to build homes for people and planet to thrive. It just needs good design and care. Design is the yeast in the bread. We need to design for sharing. We need long-lasting design. We need to be menders, repairers, fixers, and hackers. We need to move to regenerative architecture. We need to return to previous practices. We need to shift behaviors, because the big challenge is that the top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. We must therefore sell an idea of change that is appealing. We need food that is good for our body and good for the planet. We need to reconnect to the land and reconnect to the soil for our food and our phones. A phone comes from the ground. I'm going to say that again. That was from Baz. It was like, yes, of course it does. A phone comes from the ground. If that's not something about how you actually have to think about designing with nature, I don't know what is. We also need to grow buildings, and we've proved that we can. This should be a race against time, not each other, and I loved the notion of collaborative advantage instead of competitive advantage. I mentioned in my opening a quote I absolutely loved from last year, which is that we need to combine outrage and optimism, and Katie Tregarden moved that on with stubborn optimism and being defiantly hopeful. I'm going to end from a quote by Charles Darwin, which I thought was beautifully appropriate for this event. It is the long history of humankind and animal kind too, that those who learned to collaborate and innovate most effectively have prevailed. Thank you so much for joining us, and join us again round about the same time next year. Thank you.